the first few minutes or so. Slice the onion too thin, right? Alright, looks like we are live. Good evening, cats. This is the pre-stream. We are doing some audio checks on our end. Can you guys holler?
Hello.
Okay,
Hi.
Alright, so we've got both Lindsay, we've got Jordan, and we've got Sil in here. Can you all hear them? Because last live stream, if you guys remember, you were actually not hearing my system audio, so it was a whole interview of me talking to myself. Which we will try and avoid.
Which is really
So there's quite a big delay between what we're seeing right now and when it's going to appear on YouTube. So it's going to be a while until we get those comments back. So now live stream is online, and in a second or 10 they should be getting to the part where I ask them, like, are you hearing everything okay? So we're always slightly in the future. Okay, looks like everyone can hear us perfectly. We have 78 viewers. Good evening, everyone. Live stream starts in 5 minutes, guys. So grab something to drink and enjoy, because we will be discussing live action Kaiserreich content with our new live action crew and our partner production company, Glimpse of Gold Pictures in Chicago, who are joining us from the Central Time Zone. It's 1 p.m. over there, right, guys?
yeah.
Just about.
Excellent. Let's do 5 minutes of silence while we stare at each other, because we're 5 minutes ahead of schedule. So, you guys watch any good movies lately? Jordan,
I've been watching a lot of Nightmares.
your webcam stare is way too intense, man. That's too much.
You said 5 minutes of silence. I thought we were honoring the film and whatnot.
Yeah. I actually have a bunch. I've got Victoria's Monologue with me, the latest cut, so I will be showing that during the live stream. We're gonna give the people a little sneak peek of that. Just a minute, I need to listen to the stream. Let's go.
Is it
You
like
said 5 minutes
done?
of silence.
I haven't kept tabs on that since handing it off.
Victoria's Monologue?
Yeah.
It is pretty close to done. I just sent Carly one final email with here's a few intro and outro elements that we need to clean up.
Gotcha.
Rachel Hardy has also sent us the final Kaiser Cat Cinema logo sting with like a sad.
Oh.
Yeah, it's basically the same sting we normally use, but it's a sad intro. So she did it in violin. I thought it's really beautiful.
Wow.
We can use it for Strife as well, unless like Carly feels that opening with the music of the opening shots is stronger. Like, I think that's gonna point itself out basically.
Yeah, once we hand off to Taylor, we've been talking a lot about what exactly we're going to be doing. So we've got some plans. She's got to head out to her dad in the suburb to pick up some instruments for some ideas we want to try out.
How's the audio engineering going?
It's going good. I mean, we haven't really gotten started with the actual technical stuff with it, just because you have to wait till picture lock. Otherwise, if something changes, everything gets out of whack and out of sync, and you basically have to start from scratch, which
that makes total sense.
Yeah. But no, we've been talking a lot of just concepts and ideas and inspirations. So a lot of time on YouTube. Ruining my suggestions.
We haven't figured out yet is the actual like music theme. Think Up Anger were nice enough to send us a few tracks, but I think you and me feel the same way, that it wasn't what we were looking for.
Yeah, which is weird because their website had a lot of like high profile work, like big AAA blockbuster movie work. Yeah, and then
the thing is, because a lot of that is either a cover of an existing song, it means like the licensing rights to those are ridiculous.
Yeah.
For reference, the licensing rights to a popular rock band song in the 60s was about $60,000 to use the track in one video. So that is not exactly within our budget range. But okay.
So you're saying next year?
Next year. Oh goodness. No. So they do have a good library, but I think Epidemic, which is our usual sound partner, will probably have something that we can use. I've been going over their website, but their acoustic guitar parts are not as strong as I would like them to be. I haven't found anything that I think is like, this is what we want. Just for the chat, if you guys have questions for the crew, don't forget to ask them here or in Discord. We are live there.
Yeah.
Shout out to like along with the Soviet Union.
There's a lot about the Soviet Union here. It's I think it's because I just added the Russian Syndicalist Republic flag to the web shop for a few minutes or so. I just need to make a little post on our Kaiserreich that we are going live in 30 seconds.
Oh my god, hurry up.
Yeah, I like to start these live streams like 5 minutes early just so we can work out some bugs.
Yeah.
Divided.
I actually just started working a job in Chicago where I'm basically managing the live stream, the video aspect at least.
Do you guys use
have you guys heard of? We do.
It's pretty good.
But their setup is wild. It's this place called Epiphany Center for the Performing Arts. It's like this old church that they've converted into like a bunch of concert venues in different parts of the church. So like the main, what's it called? Sanctuary is like a big
put us live,
venue.
by the way, because it is time. I pressed the button I shouldn't have in OBS. My screen's flipping all over the place. All right, good evening, everyone. Let me know if the audio levels are all right because we cannot hear what you are hearing on your end. I am joined by several of the Kaiserreich live action short film crew tonight. So on the left side of the Discord chat screen, we have Jordan Pennell, the director of the Kaiserreich short film, the madman who has actually done it. On the right side, we have our superstar producers, Nicholas Seal and Lindsay, but I'm not seeing her webcam right now. Did she pop off?
I'm here.
No, I see her.
Your camera is off, Lindsay. Oh yeah, I have none. Let's see if we can get you back in here.
That's interesting.
You guys,
on the stream, it says her webcam's gone, but on my computer, it says she's here.
That's interesting.
And I see her.
Turn it off and on. Off. On.
Okay, there she is. So we have Jordan Pennell, Kaiserreich short film director, and Lindsay Burns and Nicholas Seal, our superstar producers, who helped us create a live-action Kaiserreich short film in the middle of a pandemic. So the thing we are going to talk about is both our plans for live action in the channel at the end of this year and 2021, as well as just the practicality of shooting a short film in the middle of a very difficult environment for everyone who's working in film right now, as I can assume it must be for you guys. So they are joining us from Chicago, I am joining you guys from Brussels, and let's get the show on the road. This is a Q&A, so we already gathered a bunch of questions from our Discord. If you guys want to ask questions there's a channel, short film Q&A, and I will go over our crew members and just ask them in general what the show is about. Let me pull up my little script here. The first questions are for Jordan. Jordan, you are the director, you're also the writer of The Divided States Strife, that is correct?
Yes, I am. Excellent. Yes, I am. Wrote and directed.
Old Man Mammoth asks, what can you tell us about the plot of the film?
So, at its core, without giving too much away, the plot of the film is basically, it revolves around a family during the opening stages of the Second American Civil War in the world of Kaiserreich. And basically, it's them discussing their allegiances and their ideals and arguing amongst themselves who they should support and who they are supporting. So it's kind of that house against house, brother against brother, but localized on this one family in the Second American Civil War.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The next question is from New England Border Guard. Are you planning on making more short movies in the future?
Absolutely, yeah. The goal is to keep making these for as long as we can get money for it. I've already got ideas and most of a script for an idea, and then other ideas if that doesn't pan out or if we don't like it. But the general idea is keep making these kinds of short films wherever we can find the time and money and place for it. Vincent is very excited about a film set in Antwerp. It's a
We cannot speak.
giant.
No. We can't speak
I can't speak
about,
of that.
No,
Okay.
That's actually a
I'm not
secret.
speaking of that. But it's
thing.
cool.
It's really cool. It might be out of budget, but it involves submarines and an idea of having something around the German submarine crew in the southeastern, in the Pacific, basically. So we're thinking about different scenarios. We're thinking about both Southeast Asia. That does not mean filming in Southeast Asia. That means a story that is set in Southeast Asia in some capacity, just to be clear. We're also thinking, I would like to see some kind of Der Untergang style movie short film with Mosley. I think that's something that you guys could definitely do from your location, if you can find the actors, if you can find some sort of old school bunker. So there's a few plans floating around, as well as a sequel to the short movie that we will release. For which we will still need to announce the release date. So here's what I think we do, Jordan. Let's watch Victoria's Monologue together. And then you will give us the release date of the full film. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
And after that, we will take it to our production team and ask them a bit of questions. So I have my files as an extremely prepared person who prepares for things. Victoria Monologue. This is not the final edit, but this is one of the promotional trailers that will release promoting Strife in next Friday, probably, and then we have one about every week. So first I need to cut off my music so you guys can hear everything. All right. So the idea was that we not only do the live action short film, but as well make a bunch of live action remakes of our World of Kaiserreich series, but then with the characters from this short film. So that is what we're watching right now. We're watching World of Kaiserreich Victoria, the first promotional World of Kaiserreich 40 short film.
Freedom and equality. I used to believe the United States stood for those ideals. Then I learned. I used to believe an American's voice mattered, that our vote was important and would impact the heading of the nation. I used to believe that Jim, who lived down the lane and who wasn't allowed to drink from the same fountain as me, was equal. Then I learned. I used to believe that Thomas, who worked at the mill and had his head cracked open by a scab's club, could pull himself up by his bootstraps out of the shack way in the back. Then I learned. I learned the truth about my country. They told us that our voices mattered, that we would be able to speak up when we were unhappy. They lied. This republic is a thinly veiled front for the robber barons. I learned that. Then I learned of a better way. After the Great War, the people of France and Britain threw off their chains. If it can happen there, it can happen here. We too can throw off the yoke of capitalist tyranny and make a truly just, free society. Not just for the rich and the privileged, but for all. Not everybody has learned this. There are those who see this wave of change and fear it. But they'll see. I'll show them. They don't have other options.
There we go. That is
and equality.
Victoria's Monologue for the Divided States Strife, our upcoming short film set in the world of Kaiserreich. So I'm going to turn my music back on and then turn it over to chat and see what chat thought of that. It's gonna take him a few minutes to actually finish the full short film. Looks like they're in the short film right now. Now, back to you guys. I would like to turn it over to our producers and ask a bit of questions about just the practical nature of shooting a short film in Chicago. So, first question would be for Lindsay. How long did production take?
So I guess that depends on how you measure production. From the time that Jordan first approached us with the script and asked if we'd be interested in helping him make it, all the way to today, I think probably 6 months. I think he came to us with that back in was it May? Mm-hmm. It's been a while.
May, yeah.
Yeah, March, or it might have even been March. Way back when we still thought quarantine was going to be a couple weeks.
The good old days.
The good old days. Yeah.
Since then, yeah, the good old days. It was so simpler times. But then once we got in touch with you, Vincent, and really started rolling as far as hiring crew and talking about casting and all of that, I'd say it's probably still been about 4 or 5 months. Production itself, we did all in one weekend, which is to say Friday through Monday is when we shot the entire film. And now post has been going on for almost 4 weeks. So it's been definitely a couple months, but the kind of the sexy stuff that people are like actually seeing, like all behind the scenes stuff, that was only about a month ago.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Actually, Jordan, we forgot to announce the release date of Strife. I'm gonna leave that to you.
Yes, so Strife, the short film, The Divided States Strife, will be released on November 21st. Mark your calendars. We're gonna have a big live announcement stream, or not announcement stream, but premiere stream, and
correct,
it's gonna be awesome.
I'll schedule the premiere stream so you guys have something you can set your calendars to. Quite simply, the premiere stream will allow you to see the movie about an hour or two early, and then it will also be released on YouTube in full. So as always, everything is free. We're gonna put everything on YouTube. November 21st, that is the date, so mark it in your calendars, guys. Turning it back to Lindsay.
Yeah.
How long did production take? So how many people did you have in your crew?
With cast, we had about 15, I want to say. I think all total right around like 17. So just crew would be about 12, which is small. It is a short film, so we don't necessarily need as many hands at all times, but we didn't have any PAs or production assistants on set, which normally we would, partly just due to COVID restrictions. We wanted to keep it as small as possible. So it was definitely a small crew, smaller than we would have typically wanted for something of this length, but everyone who was on set did fantastic. Everyone, we only hire people that are good at their jobs, so we had a really, really good crew to work with.
Well, it's really good to hear. We'll talk a little bit more about the COVID measures in a minute. I have a question to Jordan from me personally. Can you talk about what inspired you to make the story of Strife? Like, when did you think of, hey, this would be a cool short movie?
Yeah, so I mean, going back to why I wanted to make Strife, I mean, I've been a fan of Hearts of Iron and Kaiserreich for years now. I've always been a gamer. And I love strategy games, and so Hearts of Iron and Kaiserreich I loved the history in general, and so the idea of this alternate history world, especially Kaiserreich's world and what they develop, always inspired me, and I was super interested in it. And so when I was in film school, I thought, hey, what would be a cool way to make a Kaiserreich story? What is something that I could actually do? Because in film school, you don't have as many resources as you would like. So I thought, let's put it in a basement. Let's put it in the Second American Civil War where people can argue, and we're off to the races. And after weeks and months of pitching it to shoot in film school and not getting chosen, eventually, once I graduated, I came to you with the idea refined and perfected. Not really, but we'll see.
So Jordan reached out to me, I think in the early summer, when he made preparations with both Lindsay and Seal to get this production running. We thought it was a great script when we first read it. At that point, we were low on budget, so I was like, give me a few months, Jordan, while I decide about this. Then the July 4th sale added quite a nice amount of budget to us, to the point where I was comfortable that, okay, yeah, I think we should do this. This is going to create a lot of value. Here's the budget, like, go out, make a Kaiserreich short film, go forth.
And I mean, that was kind of the idea. If I could just say one thing real quick, is it really started when Kaiser Cat Cinema started. That is when I fully thought, like, hey, we can go out and do this. And that's why I went to you, so we could put the cinema in Kaiser Cat Cinema.
Yeah, so
we got cool hoodies.
I was a little early when I found Kaiser Cat Cinema, so I was like, yeah, we will probably do a short film at some point in the future, so let's call it Kaiser Cat Cinema and not just Kaiser Cat Animations. So it looks like fake it till you make it works once more. That's awesome. I want to turn it over to Sil for a bunch of production questions, mostly pertaining to the ongoing COVID-19 crisis and quarantine, and how you guys actually managed to not only shoot this short film with limited means, with the crew, but also not get anyone infected with COVID, which I think is awesome, as everyone has been COVID-free ever since shooting.
Yeah, we are.
So
Officially COVID-free.
Yeah.
So, Sil, can you dive deeper into how you kept crew and cast safe in the middle of a pandemic? How are movie sets organized in the COVID era?
So we had Lindsay was our HSO, health and safety officer, and we had a ton of measures about social distancing, about washing your hands often. We had what's it called for the hands?
Hand sanitizer?
Hand sanitizer. Thank you.
Actually, I'm gonna pull up some.
We had a bunch of that.
That you sent me.
That now ubiquitous item?
Yes, of course, hand sanitizer.
I literally have some like right over here.
So, Sil, I actually have the behind-the-scenes images open while you're saying this. So, as you guys can see, only the actors are not wearing masks, and then only during their scenes. So, everyone else on set had to wear a mask. Obviously, there's a lot of hand sanitizing. There's social distancing going on. So, it's definitely a challenging environment to shoot short film, and it is not impossible. But you guys pulled it off. I'm actually really proud of you guys. And what other measures did you take?
So yeah, masks was a big thing. Everyone was required to wear masks at all times when on set. We had some outdoor space for the first 3 days where if you needed to breathe, take your mask off for a little bit, you could go outside, be at least 6 feet away from other people and do that. But anytime anyone was inside working, fully masked.
Makes sense.
We also had very strict rules about touching things that were not yours, which is a rule we generally have anyway, but we were more strict about it.
Yeah, like
if it was not your department.
Random people like touching lights and cameras who aren't supposed to be touching lights and cameras, but for germ's sake, this was even more strict than normal.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing here as well is how much crew did you have in one room at a given time? Because obviously, a film set has a lot of people on it. So what we're seeing here is, you guys are not seeing this, but if you switch your live stream, you will. This is Taylor and assistant audio, I think, doing the recordings.
Lead audio, actually.
Yeah. So
I think the most we ever had in one room at any given time was maybe 6 or 7. It depends on the size of the room and the scene we were shooting. But yeah, I think it was generally a pretty small number. A lot of us spent most of the day outside.
Yeah, we got really lucky that the weather was so nice. If it had rained, we would have been in trouble because we just had it. Like if people weren't involved directly in the scenes, like makeup and props, and like Sil and myself, like we don't really have anything to do with the scene being recorded. So anybody who wasn't, right there would just go outside. Just because it was so much easier to make sure people were socially distanced and keeping themselves safe.
Yeah, that makes total sense. The one thing that the sunny weather was annoying for is, the exterior shots where we thought it would be nice to have that moody, dark, clouded atmosphere, but it's actually a super nice, bright, sunny day outside.
It was like
it's a beautiful day for Revolution.
I'm actually pulling up some of these behind-the-scenes footage that you sent me, as well as stills from the actual short film. So the image I have up is the entire crew in front of the CSA truck at the second outdoors location. What am I looking at? Why is there a tent in this picture?
So yeah, it's actually the location we went to. Lindsay amazingly found it at the last minute. We went to a pumpkin patch to film.
It's a family farm outside of Chicago, and it was a live, active pumpkin patch. So tons of families were running around with small children. It was unsettling.
I love that picture.
Have all of us here.
I love that picture because I have a mask over my face and a hat on. You can't even tell it's me.
Yeah, I think it's pretty funny.
That's probably that was probably the hardest part of the shoot, because it was like an 80-degree day, and you made us put our sweaters on for that.
I had you put your sweaters on for 1 minute. Come on, you can do it.
It was the worst.
The truck is a really nice touch. Where did you end up finding this vintage?
The
that's
truck, a whole story.
That was the whole thing. we knew that we needed to find a truck, or at the very least some sort of vintage vehicle, and we knew that like from the beginning, like it's the first thing mentioned in the script. And we didn't actually get that until we had, I think it was like Saturday, and we had it on
day
Monday.
before.
Like,
yeah,
we got it like a day and a half before we actually needed it.
So
and then our lead audio, Taylor, had gone to Second City Sound to get all of her audio equipment rented. And she was just kind of chatting with the guy and mentioned like, oh yeah, we're still looking for this car. Meanwhile, Syl and I are like tearing out our hair and calling like every like wedding limousine company and like rental place in the city. And the guy at Second City Sound was like, well, you know, Fargo just finished shooting next door and they had a bunch of vintage cars. Here's the number of the lady who like ran that if, you know, you want to reach out. And so Taylor gave me all of her information, and we were able to get that truck super last minute, but we got it and we were really happy with it.
By far the hardest thing to get for that set. But if you like Fargo, that truck is in it. It's just red.
Yeah,
it's the truck from Fargo.
Yeah.
It's literally the truck from Fargo. That's awesome.
It's literally on the poster.
That's cool. I should look at it.
So yeah, we got the truck.
You know, I'm actually a big fan of Fargo, so that's actually a really fun detail. My girlfriend is gonna love this. We're watching it right now. When is that new season coming?
I don't know, it's not our film.
It already started. I'm not sure about elsewhere. But
I saw something in the chat. Tricronian said, "Imagine them having to explain the film to a passerby." So fun story about that. That truck, we had it parked and driving up an active little side road in the countryside in the US, which people were driving by like every 5 minutes, which was annoying to a degree. But everybody passing by had this huge smile on their face. Just, I mean, once you see the camera, it's just like, oh, somebody's shooting a movie. And it was just,
at one point, a guy like drove up in a van and like swerved around into the ditch on the other side of the road to take a picture, and then just kept driving.
It's the truck from Fargo.
It's the Fargo truck.
Everyone knew it's a truck. The picture I'm pulling up here right now is the exterior of the house that you guys rented, which was an Airbnb, if I'm correct. Can you talk a little bit more about this location?
Yeah, so that was like you were totally correct. It's an Airbnb out in the suburbs, the southwest suburbs of Chicago, in Downers Grove. And Jordan had mentioned he basically just wanted somebody's like grandma's house, and that's exactly what this house was. The guy who owns it, his grandma's house, and then when he passed away, he got it and just didn't change anything. So it was very small. It was much smaller than we thought it was going to be based on the pictures we had, but it worked out great. But yeah, it was all very like kitschy, like hadn't been updated since probably the 1960s.
Yeah.
I'm sorry we didn't blow any fuses with the amount of lights we had. But
rug everywhere.
Yeah.
Really?
Great wallpaper.
Everywhere. It was great.
So I'm gonna pull up a couple stills that I have from the Divided States. I also have a bunch of clips that Corey sent me. So these are pre color grading. We'll have a very light grade on them. So the opening shots I'm seeing here is the radio. What can you tell me about this nice little vintage radio that we have?
So this nice little vintage radio is actually a modern radio. Amazing. You can buy it now from some radio record company. Yeah, it's a all-in-one radio, record, Bluetooth, CD, cassette player that we own. It's right outside in our living room.
That's actually awesome.
But it's styled to look vintage, and with a couple effects applied, it'll look even more vintage. So that actually, we after the last day of shooting on Monday, me, our camera guy, and first AD and Key Grip all flew over to my house. We just set up the radio for a quick hot second and filmed a bunch of takes of the knob turning, and it's a really nice looking radio.
Really cool. So for the intro for this film, we actually have Alex Dunk returning as Nicholas Faircrest. So we have a free Canadian radio broadcast doing both the in and outro of the short film, which I think is a nice sort of tie-in between other shows that we've had. The second shot I am seeing is our father actor. Can you tell me a little bit more about our father?
Ooh, that's a great story. this guy, Brendan Foley, who plays the father, we also got him last minute because we had an actor for most of production, through audition and all the way through pre-production. We had an actor who I got along with great. He showed up to every rehearsal. He was excited, and then 3 days before
that was
shoot began, he dropped. I don't want to get too into details just because of
there were
drama
various
reasons. There's a lot of reasons, but he dropped out, and we had to scramble for this guy who, again, our lead audio, Taylor Fitzgerald, coming in clutch, theater friend of hers who she's worked with, and we were scrambling. We had our second AD, her, everybody, basically looking for somebody like, who do you know? And we found Brendan, and he was available. He was game, and basically that same day we ironed out all the details of here's your contract, here's your schedule, here's your script, show up.
That's awesome. Thank you, Brendan, if you're watching this live stream, for helping us last minutes, because that was a really tight shave.
Big ups.
So we're seeing the family in the opening shots of the movie. I'm not sure what the next clip is. Our next clip is Jake Anderson. Can we say a little thing about his character, George?
Absolutely. So Jake Anderson, phenomenal actor, probably our standout. Just like, oh yeah, he really came and delivered, and he was awesome to work with. We had him like from auditions from the first day we saw him. We were like, that's our boy. Yeah. He plays the role of George, who is the son of the family. He's a teenager, and he's kind of like not really, jaded's not the right word, but he's the angry rebel, and he really just doesn't get along with everybody. Everybody treats him as a child, and he resents that, and that's why he makes the choice he makes. And I know certain amount of you in the audience are going to like this, but he is our American Union state supporter. He is a follower of the Long Dong.
That is correct.
So yeah.
So we'll see more of him in the short film. The next shot I have is Anita Costabile, is our mother actress.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little
Anita
more?
Costabile. Yes, of course. She was another great just find during auditions who we saw, and we were just like, we want her. She's the best one by far. She's great to work with, so nice. Just a pleasure to work with on set, and so dedicated to her role. She was asking questions throughout rehearsals of just like, oh, so what's this about? Just about the world of Kaiserreich and her character and where she stands in that world. And Mother is pretty much, I say, the voice of reason as far as that'll go in the kind of scenario that family is stuck in, but her only goal is to try and keep her family together. She doesn't really have a side. If she had one, it would probably be the Pacific States, but even then, she would rather just America be at peace and not choose a side.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So from our mother character, we have, of course, we have Paige Bourne, who is our lead actress. She plays Victoria. Can you tell me a little bit more about Victoria?
Of course. Victoria is the quintessential rebel girl, I would say. She, as you heard in the monologue, she grew up hearing all these things about the United States and then learned, oh, maybe it's not quite that way. Kind of how, as a lot of American kids grow up hearing like, oh, America's the best, American exceptionalism, all this stuff. And then once you actually start learning, it's maybe not so black and white. And so for Victoria, her reaction to that is revolution.
Yeah, so she joins the Combined Syndicates, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, she is a CSA rebel.
It's a really cool cast we have together. I want to see what my next clip is. Before we continue, I'm actually going to pour a little bit of tea. Just a minute, I'm going to move out of way here, guys.
Oh no.
Gotta keep it.
We're on our own.
Oh, actual tea?
Yeah, no, actual tea. I'm not brewing it. It's in a thermos right next to my. Which is.
Are you trying to spill tea or?
Because the microphone is clipped to the table that the drinks are on. You can hear it in high definition if you're on stream. All right.
High def tea
So
pouring action.
I have Jake, who is pulling his jacket out of so it's his self-made Union State jacket. We have a few more radio shots. So these are all long shots from the short film. And here's a little excerpt from World of Kaiserreich, George. As you can see, I love how you guys took the World of Kaiserreich composition, like 3 characters, with one doing the monologue, and I love how you turned that into live action. It's really dramatic.
Yeah, the whole inspiration was to kind of call back to those World of Kaiserreichs, because that's how the channel got started, and that's how I feel a lot of people really start getting into the World of Kaiserreich. Like, if you just play the game, you don't really get as much of that world building and that atmosphere, but watching those amazing World of Kaiserreich videos, it just adds a depth to the world.
I love,
and we really wanted to honor that.
I love it when Jake just turns around and he gives us this really intense stare in these clips.
Jake was awesome. He really brought it every day, and he's so passionate about the project, which is just so heartwarming, and we love to see that.
That shot, by the way, of him pulling the jacket out, that is my favorite shot of the entire thing.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
I do like the sort of the Victoria. She has a very, like, Paige has this very intense look in the camera, and she's like, she shrugs and is like, haha, revolution. So I want to switch it back to production for a minute. Ask Nicholas and Sil, like, how did you guys actually do auditions, considering you could not do, like, that was during lockdown?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so Jordan hosted all of the auditions over Zoom, which I think was a first. It was a first for me. I don't know if it was a first for you, Jordan.
It was a first. We definitely had to adapt to the times, because that was like during the height of lockdown.
Yeah. So we used a website called Backstage to post our auditions, and on this website, actors will have their own accounts on it, and they will look around and see what's open for auditions right now. So we had a bunch of people submit to do an audition. Jordan went and picked out all his favorites that he wanted to see, and it was all over Zoom.
It was actually really, really interesting auditions that we had over Zoom. And I remember I sat in for, I want to, not all of them, but probably most of them over the summer. And I felt, even though they were Zoom auditions, I felt you could definitely see, like, which actors ended up becoming, like, the cast we chose for this short. That's
absolutely,
actually, it's good to know that is an option. If you're like in the pandemic situation that we're all in, and you need to limit crew, it's not ideal, but it definitely works. Like, if you're in that situation, or maybe if you have an international casting, you could always use Zoom. You could always use video chat. So that's definitely the level of I would say the new normal that we're all living in, which is a lot of Zoom, which is a lot of video calls or meetings as well. So yeah, really proud of you guys that you did it. Really proud that everything stayed COVID-free. We are at beyond the halfway point of this stream, so I want to throw in a little bit of promotional news. If I can just cut away from you guys for 5 minutes for our audience here. We have a side project of the webshop that is called Flag Maker and Print, which has now entered open beta, so you can actually come in and there's a 50% discount on flags printed this way. This is an app we made with a bunch of Kaiser Cats and a bunch of developer friends I used to make games with. And you guys were always asking, hey, can I get this custom flag? Can I get that custom flag? We did a bit of talking and we were like, hey, why don't we make an application which works in a web shop and allows you to print your custom flag? And that is Flag Maker and Print. So you guys are all invited to join this beta test. You can already use this Flag Maker. You can download, upload flags for free. You can also press the print button, and it is the same flags as you get with Kaiser Cat Cinema. It is simply your own custom design. I'm also going to give you guys an invite to the Discord with no expiry, generate link. So all of you are invited to the Flag Maker Print Discord if you would like to discuss how the beta is going and enjoy the beta tester discount while it is live. End of advertising. Sorry.
Hey, back to the show.
It's not a podcast.
I think what we need is like, and now commercial messages. So I want to talk a little bit more about Jordan, both your ideas for a possible sequel and future live-action projects that you have been thinking about within the world of Kaiserreich. Like,
Yes.
how does 2021? What does that look like for you guys?
Absolutely. So I don't want to give too much away or go too deep into story because this is all subject to change. But the main ideas are following the family members, each one having their own story in the Kaiserreich universe, or something completely unrelated. And I actually came up with a couple of weeks ago, and that I'm probably most excited with. I'm calling it A Night in Chicago, and basically it's a Second American Civil War. In the middle of the war, a night in a bar in syndicalist Chicago, and a bunch of crazy, wacky characters and interesting characters walk in, and it's from the perspective of these two bartenders. And I think that's probably the most fun idea, just because we can go all sorts of tones, from comedy to drama to spy to gangster. But yeah, that's the main ideas right now, and I've been workshopping them and outlining what could happen for all those ideas.
We had that idea for interlude with the French students discussing syndicalist theory. I'm not sure if you've been in that channel. We had a similar
I
idea.
have not.
But I would love to see some kind of a more comedic tone, a little shift of tone as well. I think there's room for several live action projects. This is more of a noir drama that we're about to see with Strife.
Yes.
I think there's definitely room on the channel for different themes and genres, as we are not necessarily a one genre channel. We are a channel making things in the world of Kaiserreich, and those can have various themes and various genres. So that actually sounds really exciting. I am going to go back to fan questions because we haven't wrote down this list. There's a bunch more here. I need to scroll down. So Lindsay, I understand it is common to have a food table at shoots. How did this affect the lunchtime?
Crafty.
Yeah, so craft services, there's always a table full of snacks and lots of coffee to keep everybody happy. And then catering as well for meals. You know, if you're there for more than 6 hours, we have to feed people. And it's definitely a challenge for all of this. So typically, you know, craft, you'll just kind of be a free-for-all. There's just food everywhere, and people will walk by and grab whatever they want or need. Meals are typically kind of like a serve yourself, you know, DIY buffet. And we really couldn't do that this time. So for crafty, I went home every night and made like little sack lunch bags for everybody with like I wrote everybody's names on the bag, so you kept track of who's with who. At the beginning of the day, you got your bag full of snacks, and that's just what you had all day. And then for meals, it was, you know, we set it up so one person was serving one person at a time, gloves, face shields, masks, all of that. So it took a little bit longer, but definitely worth it. Again, nobody got sick. Everybody got fed. That's Still and I, like, our biggest thing is we want to make sure everybody gets fed on set. Like, you know, we want everybody to be safe. We want everybody to be doing their job, and we want everybody to not be hungry, which we succeeded at on all accounts. And then I think the other big thing with the meal is typically lunch is kind of like a social time. Like, everybody gets a chance to kind of sit down and talk to their friends and kind of see what everyone else is doing. And we really couldn't do that, which is a bummer because, you know, we're all social people. But again, because everyone had their masks off and we're eating, we needed to make sure that everyone was at least 6 feet away from each other. So it was a lot of distancing and kind of solitary eating, and sometimes eating in shifts if we didn't have enough room. Makes sense.
There was still some socialization. It was just from distance.
Socialization.
Yeah, you can be social. You just need to be 6 feet away.
Yeah, we were all sat outside in the front yard like a little picnic.
Yeah, I'm sure the neighbors thought it was like some kind of cult meeting. It was fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back into questions. So, Jordan Soreno TM asks, how long will the film be? So what is the length, runtime?
The film in total is going to be about 9 to 10 minutes for a 4-day shoot, and what we have, that is what we're able to get out. We could make it longer or shorter, but as it stands right now, it's coming out to be about 9 to 10 minutes.
No, that's awesome. Steven asks, what was the hardest thing about making the film? So that's more of a Seal and Lindsay thing, I guess.
The truck.
Fine.
It was by far the hardest thing.
That's weird because you would think you'd have more vintage cars.
You'd think
around,
so.
especially around Chicago.
Well, and like, so I mentioned before, we looked at like wedding limos because a lot of like companies will like rent out like these like vintage Rolls Royces for limos and stuff. And in that case, it was like, oh, you can have it for 3 hours for like $800. It's like, well, no,
Yeah.
we can't do that. So the car was hard, and then just like the COVID stuff in general, just like making sure that we were prepared and that everybody was on board and everyone was on the same page and kind of following directions and instructions, which ended up not being a problem at all. But kind of the prep work of it all was all very stressful.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, it's great to see that you did end up getting that truck, as I think it does add a lot of that sort of 1930s feel to it. It's a beautiful truck, and now we can say that we did have the Fargo truck.
Fargo truck.
So RED Commando asks, have any of you ever played Kaiserreich, either Dark Star or Kaiserreich 4? Hearts of Iron 4. I'm not sure why he wrote Kaiserreich 4. So Jordan, you have?
I'm pretty sure I'm the only player on the crew.
Yeah,
I had never heard of Kaiserreich before Jordan brought me the script. I'm still very fuzzy on a lot of the details, but I'm trying to learn more because I understand the deal. But no,
it's kind of a big deal around these sports.
That's why I am looking up the wiki pages and like trying to understand all of everything.
So Jordan is the original Kaiserreich fan that reached out to us from the community. A couple of others have also reached out to us with live action projects, but I felt that Jordan had his crew put together. He had a very well scoped plan. He had a reasonable budget in mind. So this is definitely the crew that we felt good working with. Also felt like, Jordan, your creative vision was really good. Like the way you wanted to tell the story of Second American Civil War in Chicago, I thought was really interesting. So I'm glad that we ended up doing this project together. I'm looking forward to future projects as well.
Same here.
We already mentioned, because I have a question here, are you planning on making more short movies in the future? So we already mentioned we have both Jordan's ideas for future short film, and then we have Project Downfall and the submarine-related project, which might be out of budget. But so let's think of Project Downfall first as a more reasonable scoped thing. I think I'm through all my questions. That is page 2. That is page 3. How many people did it take? We did get that. So your COVID policy, was that something that was passed down? Did you have like support from a Chicago board of filmmakers, or I'm not sure what organization?
Yes and no. So there are very loose guidelines on certain shoots right now. I've been working on a lot of commercial shoots throughout quarantine and COVID and all this, so most of the stuff that we did was just based on my experience with that, where you have up certain signs and you take people's temperatures and all of that. We also had some of our cast members are part of SAG, which is the Screen Actors Guild. It's a type of union, and they had very specific rules in place in order to protect their actors, which makes total sense and was actually very helpful, because then say, yes, this seems unreasonable and it seems like we're overreacting, but we are honestly just following the rules that we have to ensure that everyone is safe, which included everyone had to get tested for COVID 72 hours before we started shooting. Obviously, negative tests were mandatory. We had to get tested twice because we were shooting for more than 72 hours. So we started filming on a Friday, and so everybody had to get tested that day before they came to set. On Monday, it was very confusing. Lots of questions with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, so a lot of it was from SAG, and then the other was just from, what other sets we're doing and what other people are doing in the industry. So, sorry about that.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, so there aren't, I'm trying to think. The Illinois Film Office did put out a few guidelines as far as, like how many people could be on set at any given time. I think the number for Illinois, I think the number in Illinois was 50. So we were definitely way below that. But yeah, so it's a lot of just kind of picking and choosing and taking kind of industry standards from other places and what other people are doing.
Makes total sense. I have a question from live chat here from King of Spoon 64. He asks, how are you making it clear to the audience that this is a world where Germany won the Weltkrieg?
So I can speak a bit on that. Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to really show that with the kind of scale and scope of the short. We have a couple lines that imply it, and really just one that straight up says it, just because it's kind of hard with the subject we had. It's kind of hard for it to come up naturally, and so I feel we did a pretty good job, like telling the audience, like, oh, this is a completely different world. But it may come off as clunky to some, just because it's hard with the scale. Like, why would a family talk about the geopolitical situation across the Atlantic when there's a civil war going on?
Yeah, that's definitely one thing we've discussed whenever we meet with like the team at PDXCon, for example. The one thing we discuss is like, in what normal dialogue between people on the ground level do you ever say, "Oh boy, I'm glad Germany lost World War II"? Right? So it's not something that comes up. You just assume that the world you live in is the world you live in, right? So nobody in the Kaiserreich world goes around thinking, "Oh boy, it's so weird that Germany won World War I." Like, that's just how they knew history. That's where it gets really interesting. So I know Jake has that line where he says, the Germans have never lost a war. They even won the Great War, pertaining to the Germans backing the Union State. So and then it's also in the radio intro and outro where it is mentioned. But it's definitely not mentioned directly, and that's what I like about Divided States things, where it's like, it's not about Germany winning the war, it's about the far-flung influence that has on the way the political scene develops in the 1930s and the 1940s. I have another question here from Shift. I was wondering where the short is set. Is it solidly in the territory of any of the factions?
So the idea, we shot in and around Chicago, and so if you know that area, you can say, oh, it's there. But the idea for the whole short was that it could be anywhere. From the way we shot it and staged everything, is we wanted to avoid any defining features. So whenever they're in an interior, we tried to not block the light, but really just blast it through the window. So all you see outside is just light and no defining features, because the key about the story is that it could be anywhere. It doesn't matter. It's just about this family being kind of a representation of America as a whole.
Okay, that's interesting. But your filming locations were Downers Grove, Chicago, and Shikabaha. I don't know how to pronounce that second one.
Shanahan. It was Downers Grove and Shanahan, and then Chicago.
So, and you guys are all Chicago natives, right? Born and raised?
No, but I live here now.
No. And the crew in general is kind of...
Yeah, I think
but
Paige is from Milwaukee, which is a new city that I learned of. The US has so many big cities. It's like I'm learning about a new massive 1 million plus population city every other day. What's weird is, like, you guys have like really big cities, but also really close to each other. So, for example, in North Carolina, you had Raleigh and Charlotte and Durham, so close to each other that Raleigh and Durham share an airport, but they're both like massive cities. They would be capital cities by any like Belgian standards. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
So Trocronian asks, what are your ideas for future Kaiserreich films? We did answer that question earlier in the live stream, Trocronian, so if you can rewind, you can actually see us answer that. Just to recap, Jordan is thinking of a few things, that both a sequel to this story and unrelated stories set in Chicago in different genres. We are also thinking about a Der Untergang style thing with Mosley, and we are thinking about something with submarines in Southeast Asia. Mostly interior scenes, of course. Herbert von Bismarck asks, how will you include the 1919 Red Summer riots into the Kaiserreich lore as something of much... Oh, I think this is a Kaiserreich lore question and not necessarily a Divided States short film question, so that is outside of scope for us. Philip Hilbert asks, are you planning on making something about the French Commune in the future?
I would personally love to. I myself am a dual nationality Belgian American, and je parle français. Alors, I would love to make something taking place in the Commune of France. It's also my favorite nation to play in the mod, for various reasons. But I love French culture. I'm very close to it just through my family.
Oh,
and
wait.
people I
We
know.
Belgians
and-
are not French, Jordan. Don't say that. Don't give them ideas.
Hold on, though. On my mother's side, we're Corsican.
Okay, that's a different situation. But yes, Jordan is actually a hidden Belgian. We found out. It's my favorite type of Belgian. It's when it sort of casually comes up months in. It's like, oh yeah, I am also a Belgian. But you did not hear that Belgians are French, so that is not something that you heard on this channel. Belgium is a sovereign nation. Our borders are protected by international law. I'm looking at you, Netherlands. I'm looking at Germany. I'm even looking at Luxembourg. I'm trusting none of you guys. All of you are invading us. Okay, so
What did you do?
what I want to do is we're coming to the the end of this live stream. I want to take one last look at the Victoria monologue, one final chat with you guys, a thank you and goodbyes, and then we would be off to next week where we will meet Paige Bourne and Jake Anderson, our two lead actors. We will talk about their monologues and their roles in Strife in general. Jordan, you will be joining us for that live stream as well, so you'll be there for most of them, talking a bit more about these characters and how you wrote them. So we will be quiet for a minute while I play Victoria's monologue one more time. Before we do, guys, here is the poster for the Divided States. It's also on the web shop if you would like a copy for yourself. Victoria monologue. I have a bunch more questions from live chat.
Let us make more.
I have a bunch more questions from live chat. We'll answer them right after the second run of this monologue. I just need to cut off my music. Okay.
I used to believe the United States stood for those ideals. Then I learned. I used to believe an American's voice mattered, that our vote was important and would impact the heading of the nation. I used to believe that Jim, who lived down the lane and who wasn't allowed to drink from the same fountain as me, was equal. Then I learned. I used to believe that Thomas, who worked at the mill and had his head cracked open by a scab's club, could pull himself up by his bootstraps out of the shack way in the back. Then I learned. I learned the truth about my country. They told us that our voices mattered, that we would be able to speak up when we were unhappy. They lied. This republic is a thinly veiled front for the robber barons. I learned that. Then I learned of a better way. After the Great War, the people of France and Britain threw off their chains. If it can happen there, it can happen here. We too can throw off the yoke of capitalist tyranny and make a truly just, free society. Not just for the rich and the privileged, but for all. Not everybody has learned this. There are those who see this wave of change and fear it. But they'll see. I'll show them. They don't have other options.
So that was the World of Kaiserreich Victoria monologue, which will release next week, Friday, Saturday. I'm not sure what my schedule says. I don't have it on me right now. We will also do a live stream next week with Paige Bourne, the lead actress, and Jake Anderson, lead actor, in the Divided States short film. So we are going to do a few more minutes of fan questions and then we are out. How does that sound, guys?
Sounds great.
Sounds good.
Shift asks, do you work with people from all over or is the crew mostly from Belgium?
Well,
All from Chicago.
Yeah, I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know many Belgians. Like, there's not a lot of us.
Pretty much all of our crew is from the Chicago area.
Yeah.
But we're open to working with people from anywhere.
So
Yeah.
the Kaiser Cat Cinema crew in general is as international as Kaiserreich, the Kaiserreich development team is. So we have, I think, we took a poll a few weeks ago, and we found out that we have people on every single continent, including on Antarctica, because we have a researcher who goes there. He doesn't live there permanently, but we can say that we have a guy on Antarctica. So we're well represented. So we have people in Southeast Asia helping us with the animation. We have We've got a Belgian, which would be me. We've got a hidden Belgian, which would be Jordan. We've got the whole Chicago team coming together. Obviously, a lot of those people are from different parts of the US as well. We've had a lot of people. Jordan, I've been sending you like tons and tons of emails.
Yeah.
With people like, hey, I'm in
all over
I'm
the
in this-
country.
I'm in this area. If you ever come out, like people who do cosplay, who do airsoft, who have props, like it will be awesome to work with those people. Unfortunately, the United States has a disadvantage that Belgium
Very
does not
big.
have. It is extremely big. There is also a bit of a pandemic going on, which makes traveling
Just a bit.
Yeah, just
Slight travel ban.
slightly
Just-
problematic.
Just tiny apocalypse. It's fine.
So
Light apocalypse.
I hope that once we get into like the year where the vaccines come out and this all goes away, that we can hit the road more and meet all these people and shoot content in various parts of the United States and Europe. But we're definitely gonna have to sit tight, and I think you guys are comfortable in Chicago. You know a lot of people there, so that I think that's where a lot of the live action is gonna happen, at least in the coming year, and then who knows, 2022 onwards. A question: do you plan to make some videos about Eastern European countries, especially about Ukraine? So Tiberius asks this. We have World of Kaiserreich Russia planned, not for this year because all of our energy is now in the short film project as well as the animation project, the Divided States West animatic, which I owe you guys a trailer for. We just finished voice actor auditions on that, and it will release sometime after all the live action stuff is out. For now, I want to keep the focus on the short film.
I think
I'm Ukrainian. My whole family is from Ukraine, so I'm very interested in doing Ukrainian stuff.
Okay, cool. Galactic Prince asks you, this is a fun one. Will there be CGI in Strife?
We actually talked about it very early on for wide shots and replacing backgrounds and stuff, but as of now, we don't need it. Everything is live, and what you see is what you're getting.
Well, we do have practical effects.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, the rubble and stuff. Is the boardwalk shot doesn't have like CGI dust?
No,
But
that's
it's not.
real
It's
dust.
not CGI. It's just.
I did that all myself. I swept that dust up myself.
It's all practical.
So
Sprinkled it.
yeah, we have this beautiful opening shot of rubble, which you guys had to manually place, and I'm pretty sure like it's that. I'm not sure what the English word for it is. It's that very light type of rock, right? We call it Bernstein in Dutch.
Like pumice, yeah.
Yeah, and
Something.
very light, very porous type of rock, which is easy to use as rubble in places. I thought it was really interesting to see that. So yeah, no budget for CGI. We did have I did make a sky replacement, but it's so as you can see it here in the poster. I actually made this. We bought these original images of Chicago in the 1940s, and then I did like smoke coming from all the buildings, but it's a bit beyond scope to get that in like a live action plate. And I think we shouldn't dive deep into CGI just yet, because I think that's definitely like it's too much. It's better if we sort of limit our scope and not try and do things which would be so expensive so fast that it would damage the rest of the short film.
Yeah.
A few more questions. Let's see here. Chat is moving pretty fast, so I have to scroll. Wondering where short is set. So that is all. That is what we all mentioned. We did mention that we were working. So Mani asks, are we planning on doing anything in New England? I think he means New England, the province, like the New English provinces, right?
The actual region in America.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to. There's no plans right now just because of the pandemic and everything. But if it was at all possible and we could, I would love to. I'm open to anything on the American continent and beyond. But we have to take into consideration what we can actually achieve, both financially and then realistically in regards to the pandemic right now.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I think that is all the time we have for today. I want to thank all of you guys for joining. If you would like to support Kaiser Cat Cinema and our lovely live action crew that we have here, you can always swing by the web shop or support us on Patreon. We will see everyone again next week as we meet the actors for the short film and talk a little bit more about their experiences in the filming. And don't forget, the date for the full short film release on YouTube is November 21st. There will be a avant-premiere live stream, so you'll be able to see the short if you join us in the live stream 3 hours before it actually releases on YouTube. Then we have a bunch of promotional material, like the World of Kaiserreich monologues of the characters releasing in the run-up to the short. We'll be premiering them on YouTube and announcing the dates shortly. I think that is all that I had to say. Do you guys have anything to add?
No.
Every man a king.
I think that is it for today. I want to thank you guys for joining us on Sunday, giving us a bit of your time explaining the Divided States Strife as a project we're very excited about, very passionate, and a big step forward for the channel. Jordan, Lindsay, Seal, thank you for everything. We are going to wave out, so thank you guys. Don't forget to continue to support Kaiser Cat Cinema, and we will see you next week. So long, guys. So there's a few minutes of us just having to stay in this live stream because of the delay. Big step forward for the channel. Jordan, Lindsay, Seal, thank you for everything. Say nothing because I have to listen to the live stream. We are going to wave out. So thank you guys. Don't forget to continue to support Kaiser Cat Cinema, and we will see you next week. So long, guys. So there's a few minutes of us. Yeah, that's it.